I'm Brad Edwards. Welcome back to the stream. We appreciate you joining us here. Now to a heated debate unfolding right here in Illinois. Corn-powered vehicles versus electric vehicles. Well, kinda. It's a little more complicated than that. Illinois produces the second highest amount of corn in the United States, and a lot of corn becomes gas. But one group says that lucrative industry is being threatened by a Biden administration policy focusing more towards electric vehicles. Earlier this month, the Illinois Corn Growers Association joined forces with over 90 transportation groups to urge the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, to reconsider a tailpipe emissions rule. Joining me now, someone who's covered this issue, Axios reporter covering the ongoing corn face-off, Monica Ng. Monica, appreciate all your work. Thank you for joining us. Monica, you're watching this closely. On the surface level, you hear reducing emissions. That sounds like a good thing. So why is this a big deal for corn farmers? Maybe we start, the viewers at home kind of give us a 101 layout, lowest common denominator. What does corn have to do with fuel and emissions anyway?
So since 1990, as part of the Clean Air Act, certain areas with high carbon emissions needed to start using E10, which is a high octane fuel that has a blend of 10% ethanol in it that is made with corn. And that has been very lucrative for corn farmers. In Illinois, if you go through cornfields, you might think, oh, this is stuff that's going to end up on my plate as sweet corn. Only 1% of that ends up on your plate as sweet corn. The rest goes to animal feed and to gas. And so this has been this requirement to blend 10% into gas has been great for corn farmers. But they say that if the EPA rules go through, that they're going to lose the sale of about a billion bushels of corn over 10 years.
Wow. So there's a huge push by the EPA, obviously, to move forward with electric. We're seeing it with the banning of gas appliances in some states. Now they want to move towards mostly EVs, electric vehicles. By 2032, Governor Pritzker is on board, too. So how can Illinois go green without hurting corn farmers? And, as you put it, I mean, it is one of the largest industries here in the state. How do you balance the two, or can you?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, probably billion-dollar question. Yeah, Illinois is the #2 corn producer in the nation, just behind Iowa. And so what they're asking the EPA and the White House to do is to say, okay, you're right, we're going to have to use EVs to hit these emissions goals mostly, but can we also use this higher octane gas that would have even more ethanol in it that they say, runs cleaner and burns cleaner? So I took that claim to one of the experts that our automotive writer, Joanne Mueller, uses. And I said, could you take this claim to one of your experts and let me know, do you think that it's higher octane gas could help achieve these emission standards? And his name is Samuel Abul Samid, and he said, well, I've long been a proponent of mixed technologies. I personally think the era of ethanol, particularly from corn, has largely passed. It's become clear that it's not going to provide the degree of decarbonization required to meet climate goals, particularly for ground transportation. So I'm not an expert on it, but when I consulted experts, they don't think that we're going to be able to hit these emissions goals by just using higher octane gas, and that maybe, it's time to phase out the ethanol transition, which was supposed to be a transition between, regular gasoline and EVs.
Yeah. So, I mean, for a long story short there, the corn industry would say that corn turns into ethanol. That's a good thing when it comes to carbon emissions. But you said you've consulted kind of your experts. I consulted the internet, and it appears that there's a lot of science that kind of argues the other way. So here you've got these two warring factions that are going to say whatever they want. You've got the EV industry wanting one thing, you've got the corn people wanting the other. So corn growers say they're committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but they also say the EPA is too hyper-focused on electronic vehicles as this all-encompassing solution to climate change. Your look at it, is there any compromise here?
I think that is what's going to happen. I mean, we do have an election coming up. And as you probably know, especially during the Iowa primaries, every candidate who used to be against ethanol subsidies is suddenly really on board with supporting ethanol subsidies again. So it'll be very interesting to see as we get closer to the Iowa caucuses and to the election, where this goes in terms of possibly alienating big corn states, and I think there may be a compromise in the works. What the EPA administrator Michael Regan said was he's open to looking at all sorts of carbon reducing policies to achieve this emissions goal. So it may not be 100% EVs. There may be all sorts of things, and possibly that high octane bill that Sherry Bustos pushed to get cleaner burning fuel that has more ethanol made with corn.
Quick final question for you next. What's next for the corn growers here in Illinois? Will they go to court? What does the corn industry look like if it does go all EV? They're going to have to think of an option B, right?
Well, what they did is over the last month, they've really pushed their supporters to write in during the comment period on these rules. When the EPA proposes rules, they have a comment period where the public can write in and say, here's what I think of it. That ended on July 5th. The corn growers tell me that a lot of people, they didn't tell me the number, but they said a lot of people wrote in. And now the EPA has until March to come up with its final rules for what are called light vehicles. So there'll be all cars excluding trucks. By about March 24th, they believe they'll have those. I think there's going to be a lot of horse trading, a lot of negotiating, a lot of discussions before then.
Yeah, that's typically what happens. So your take of it is the corn growers are going all in on this. By no means are they raising the white flag yet.
Well, they tell me that they're continually concerned about the rule, but they're continually working on it.
Okay.
The proposed rule, I should say. The proposed rule.
Proposed rule. Monica Ng, reporter with Axios. Always appreciate your work and appreciate you joining us right now here on the stream on CBS News Chicago. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.